The customer is not always right. It's not true. In fact, the customer is often wrong. However, don't clap. The customer is king. Here is the trick. When you're managing people and you want to transform people, change people, missionaries, mercenaries, carrot, stick. I'm going to incentivize you to perform. If you don't, I'm going to punish you for not performing. It is the only language human beings understand for evolution. What is it that we find value in as people and as leaders? What is it that we find value in? To understand this, perhaps we need to start with this simple question. But what is value? What is value? My view is that value is anything that has a transferable means of exchange. A transferable means of exchange. Knowledge is value because I can transfer my knowledge and exchange it for something. Skills are valuable because I can transfer the skill and exchange it for something. Time is value because I can transfer my time and exchange it for something. Expertise, valuable because I can transfer my expertise and exchange it for something. Network, relationships. All of these are value because I can transfer them and exchange. Some in this room, you occupy the job you occupy because you have a skill, a set of expertise, knowledge that you are in the top 5% in your industry at. And that is what you transfer through the mechanism of work and exchange through the mechanism of a salary. And so therefore, that's your value. That's your value. The difficulty here is this. Value is changing. 5 foundational ways I'm going to talk about that value is changing. Sabrina, these 5 foundational ways that value is changing. And the ways that value is changing are, first, Sabrina, keep going, in the marketplace. See, when I was younger, the marketplace was something that you went to. We had these things called the souks. And you went to the souk and you bought something. You wanted a pen, a watch, some spices, and you'd go to the souk and you would buy something. And the marketplace was an area where there was a value and an exchange. Sabrina, what happened next is that there was a transfer in how this value started to take place. And the transfer in how this value started to take place is it went from being in the marketplace to being in the product. Now, in the world of the marketplace, value was in relationships. In the world of the marketplace, value was in relationships. Relationships. In a marketplace environment, who I know is more important than what I know. So when I was a wee boy, we used to go to the local plaza. It was called where I grew up. And local plazas, they had these like vendors. Just sound team, just get in my sound a little bit. Some too much reverb. And at the plaza, there were like these local vendors. And you go to the local vendor, and there was the one vendor my mom loved who would sell the good spices. Another vendor my mother loved who would sell the good fabrics. Another vendor my mother liked who sold good vegetables. And whilst there were many other vendors who sold the same thing, my mother consistently went to the same vendors that sold those things because she had a relationship of trust with these vendors. Does this make sense? Each and every single one of these vendors was small enough that they focused obsessively on their relationship with my mother. This is back in the day when a CRM was a person's head, not a system. Some of you here are old enough to remember a time your grandfather or grandmother ran their little business like this. And they knew Mrs. So-and-so from 2 houses down the street. Sometimes they would give my mother credit, and there was no contract, no loan agreement. Just the trust that she would be back next month and she would settle that debt. In the marketplace, relationships were the currency of value. The problem was the world went into this hyperdrive of hyper production and efficiency. Much of the world outsourced its productive capacity to the East. As a consequence of this, because goods were coming cheaper from places like China and Vietnam, people no longer cared about the relationship. They wanted a product at the cheapest price. Relationships in a marketplace environment were transformational. Products in a product environment are transactional. So it doesn't really matter if I know you, like you, understand you, know where you come from. What does matter is, am I going to give you the best product at the cheapest price? And we built high growth, highly scalable businesses selling completely unemotional services and products to people we didn't even understand. Can I say that again, but slower? We built high growth, highly scalable businesses in a completely unemotional product to people we didn't even understand. So who cares if I know what your needs and wants are? I know that you need mobile money, so just get it from me. Who cares if I know what your needs and wants are? I know that you want the latest Panasonic flat screen TV 58-inch at the cheapest price, so just buy it from me. And we lost, over 20 years, the muscle of building relationships. We developed this muscle of transacting. Buy now, buy cheap, buy often. "20 years. And so, over that 20 years, some of the people, some of us here, report to, started as juniors in an organization, and today are executives. Their entire corporate life, they have worked in a transactional, product-based environment. They have neither the memory nor the muscle for building true meaning and transformation. Phew, tough, eh? Can I tell you what's even harder than this? It's not that some of you here report to those people. It's that some of you here are those people. Now there is some saving grace. Now here is the saving grace. In the billions of years that this little rock called Earth has existed in the solar system, of the quintillions of species that have inhabited this rock called Earth, we're foraging the Amazon forests in part. We have not yet discovered new species. We're trying to get to Mars when, did you know, human beings haven't reached the depth of our own oceans. There are still parts of our oceans today that are undiscovered and unknown, species not yet discovered. And yet of all of this, what separates human beings is what it is that is your saving grace in this room. Our ability to adapt, to learn, to change when we know better. And so for those of us in this room who, like me, grew up in that world of hyper-focus on product, hyper-focus on efficiency, hyper-focus on cost drive down, maximizing our profits, for all of us, like me, your saving grace is that you can learn different. And when you know better, you should do better. From marketplace to product, Sabrina. And so what's transformed then, what's changed then, as the world has gone from marketplace to product, is we then introduce this single component called the customer. Oh, man. And all of a sudden, all of us were going on conferences like this, talking about the customer is important and customers matter. And you all watch a couple of videos on YouTube of some American CEO who says things like, the customer's always right, you know? Sure, Mr. CEO, what does that mean? I'm not quite sure, but I do know he's always right now. By the way, that's not true. The customer's not always right. It's not true. In fact, the customer is often wrong. However, don't clap, the customer is king. And do you know what it means? The king doesn't have to be right. The king calls the shots. Many a nation has gone to war over a king that made a mistake.
Comrades, let's pause for a moment and let you digest what I have just said. If I was ever white, I would be an actor and my name would be Brad Pitt. It's true. No, Brad Pitt said that, I didn't. He said if he was ever black, he'd be me. I was dreaming, but that's what happened. And not only would I be Brad Pitt, but I would be Brad Pitt in this movie called Troy. Who knows the movie? And Brad Pitt plays this shredded machine of a man called Achilles. And the whole plot of the movie is that the city of Troy has never been invaded. In fact, that's where the expression a Trojan horse comes from. And that's where the expression she's got walls like the city of Troy comes from. But the brother of the prince soon to assume the throne in the city of Troy, a man called Hector, his younger brother falls in love. There's always women. Love, what a liar. What a liar. Falls in love with a young lady called Helen. And he takes Helen from another tribe. Helen happens to be married to the king of that clan. This sparks an entire fight, it does. And so, the tribe from whence they come decide that they're going to attack the city of Troy, but they can't breach the walls of Troy. And so Achilles, he operates as a mercenary. He's of the army, but he's not in the army. He's the guy that runs a small marshaled group of soldiers who are allowed to operate outside of the rules. Pause that story, put a full stop, new paragraph. That was good, right? Pause, full stop, new paragraph. When we started here, I sat in this chair, and what did I do before we started? I prayed. We know that the oldest Bible in the world was written first in Ethiopia. So we know that actually Christianity, to what we're taught, contrary, is actually emanated in Africa. That's not the point I want to make, though. Here is the point I do want to make. How did Christianity spread into the lands of Africa? Say again, what did you say? Missionaries. Missionaries. Remind me, how many soldiers did missionaries travel with? None. Missionaries came into a hostile environment, into an environment where people didn't speak their language, with a clan or tribe whose customs they did not share, values that were not aligned, and a language that was not common. And all they carried was a book bound by black leather. And not only that, but they went into those hostile environments to convince those people that their beliefs were different to what the missionary said was the one true belief. Listen, you want to make an enemy out of somebody, attack their children. Yeah? Sure. You want to make an arch enemy out of somebody? Attack their God. Going into an environment and transferring the God people pray to, it's not an easy task. So I want to be clear. The mercenaries go in and use guns. The missionaries go in and use books. The task is the same. How do we transform the people on the inside? Did you get that? Right. Why is this important? Because as the world transformed and changed into the world of the customer, one of the changes we did not make was to think about how do we operate in our own spaces as missionaries or as mercenaries. I'm going to make this so simple for you to understand so you follow my example. In my own team, in my own business, I have missionaries and I have mercenaries. I have a set of challenges and problems over which I don't ask for people's cooperation. I tell them, and if they don't do it, I shoot them. Then I have a set of challenges and opportunities where I rather coerce, work, educate, transform, and build goodwill. This is why the world's largest donor-funded organization is the United States Aid, and the world's largest army is the United States Army. We're going to change you if we shoot you or help you. You choose. Quick check-in. How are we doing? Are we still getting value? Yes? Excellent. Leaders in this room, here is the trick. When you're managing people and you want to transform people, change people, missionaries, mercenaries, carrot, stick. I'm going to incentivize you to perform. If you don't, I'm going to punish you for not performing. It is the only language human beings understand for evolution. First, I ask nicely, then I tell you. But sooner or later, you're going to change. It's the only way that sessions such as this can truly be effective in our lives. Otherwise, we've all come here dressed up nicely, listened, some video, audio material was shot, had a cup of coffee afterwards, go back to the company and say, yeah, log in my 3 hours for HR and training, and just get back to my work. So, what do we use mercenaries for? Well, I'll tell you. Typically, we use mercenaries in environments where we know we have a distribution of power that is not centralized against the thing we're using mercenaries for. Sure. I could run a whole strategy session just on that. What do you attack? You attack the thing that is not standing together. They're recording this, so certain things I can't say. But let me tell you what I can say. I want you to imagine we have a key account we want to win somewhere with a very large company that's a multinational. I love multinationals, by the way, because typically multinationals are riddled with rules, processes, and people who are playing defense on territory. I'm head of Africa. Yeah, but I'm head of credit cards. Okay, so who makes the decision over credit cards in Africa? Head of Africa or head of credit cards? Do you see it? Large organizations always fall into the gap of believing the silo is more important than the ship. And so the heads of silos run little fiefdoms. Head of credit cards, head of savings, head of transactional banking, head of customer service. And customer service head is not sharing with head of credit cards that they've got a customer service problem. Now, let's assume I wanted to sell an IT system into this company. What would I do? Sure, I'm going to send in my missionaries to go in and evangelize my IT system, to show some Gartner reports, do some benchmarking, show a life in the... Do you guys do Gartner reports? Okay. So to show a day in the life of a customer, we might do some benchmarking exercises. If you use the system today, this is where you'd be. This is where you are. The difference is the gain and the upside. Then I'd build a business case. That's how we sell. Everything we sell, we build on business cases because we sell services. So what do? We go to the customer and we quantify the cost of doing business today. Then we quantify what would be the cost of doing business with us. And the difference is the business case. My job is to demonstrate that the difference is less than the cost of implementing my product. Did you get that? Do you know what that does? It removes emotion. It becomes a head decision. Buy X, get Y, save Z, make an impact on A. Missionaries. But at the same time, I might send in a few mercenaries to go and talk to the head of credit card and say, what's head of global doing, man? Don't they understand your market, your region? Don't they understand your customers? Shouldn't they be giving you more resources? Have you seen what your competitors are doing? And I might agitate. Then I'm going to go to head of global and say, what's head of credit cards doing? Don't they understand you run a global business? Don't they know that you've got global regulators? That you've got a board you've got to worry about? And here they are trying to tell you about this country called Uganda with a shilling? Sorry. Don't they understand how big you are? Some of you are sitting in the room, hands in pockets, going, this sounds unethical. No. There's a word for it. It's called strategy. It's why I win. Because what's important? The transformation is what I'm after. The focus on understanding the customer fundamentally shifted and changed our business. And all of us then sit around customer-centric business. Sabrina, until this happened. We went from running a customer business where the process was driving the customer. Sabrina, carry on. To today, platform business. The problem with a platform business is that marketplace my mother grew up in that sells the product that I was trained to sell to the customer we've just spoken about. Today, they all exist on the same thing. So I can no longer just have a strong process-efficient business, a strong customer-focused business, a strong product business. I need a business that can do all three of these. You know this to be true because if you're strong on customer and poor on product, your customers will tell you in your reviews. I come from a time when there was no such thing as customer reviews on the internet. What? The internet? I remember YouTube being sold to Google. I literally remember that piece coming out in the wires. That's how old I am. In my very first job that I ever got, I remember the company sending through a technician from Microsoft who came to install my office windows. Young people, install is a thing where they literally put the software in your actual hardware. Today, you guys call it downloading. And the technician arrived to install the windows in my computer. You know what he did? He asked me to leave the office. Some of the older people in the room are smiling because you know what I'm talking about. And he had a disc. A disc, young people, is a piece of plastic that you would stick into a receiver. We had a couple of discs. The last one we had was called a CD, compact disc, not condom. The one before that was a stiffy, not related to condoms. You get it? Stiffy, condom. Okay, never mind. And before that was a floppy. Young men, when you're 65, you'll discover what a floppy is. You know, the great thing is I'm making these jokes up as I go. And the funny thing is the young people going, that's not funny. Yeah, it is. It's going to happen. In the world I come from, you install this little device and whoops was your uncle. They asked me to leave. They installed the Microsoft. When I came out, before that, watch the old and gray-haired people in the room now, I was operating on something called Lotus Notes. Oh, yes. Back when there was MS-DOS. See? The young people, who? But young people, MS-DOS is not a rapper. Not like Eminem was an operating system. That's the world I come from. Today, that world is completely collapsed. That device, whether it was a Microsoft certified partner, paid a couple of hundred to come and install it. They're no longer doing the installation. I go online, download, and I pay per use per customer. The customer reviews are completely online with feedback that can be gained online. And in this world, most of us don't know how to react. We don't know what to do next, Sabrina. Because in that world, the marketplace became an extension of the customer. Sabrina, keep going. And as the marketplace became an extension of the customer found that the customer finally had a voice. And they could use that voice. They could complain. On the plane here, I was on the flight here, I was actually on the plane. On the flight here, I was sat next to a young man from Uganda who now lives in South Africa. And he was telling me an interesting story about his car. He drives a Mercedes-Benz. And he bought the car brand new 4 years ago from a dealership in South Africa. And he says he's been having electronic issues with the car. And he's taken the car in several times. And the service department, each time he takes the car in, does what the service department does. They address the issue as they have understood it. Then they return the car to him. When he gets the car back, a few weeks later, the issue comes up again. Didn't really matter. He kept returning the car, and the service department kept on fixing the issue at a surface level. Because their scorecard was not necessarily solving the issue as much as it was getting the car out of the workshop with the issue solved as fast as possible. See, nobody was measuring whether or not the issue was solved forever. They were simply measuring, is the issue solved at that time? 4 visits later, over a period of 4 years, as he tells the story, they've replaced the battery in the car 3 times, and the car is now about to go out of service plan. So he returns the car again with an issue. He says, I've brought this car here 4 times now. This is the 5th. And each time I've done so, you guys have fixed it, and then the same issue comes up again. You are the manufacturer. Surely you know exactly what the problem is. He says, it's about to go out of warranty. And woe be unto you if this car has the same issue out of warranty that you have been fixing in warranty. You will be liable. What happens? Same thing. You just fix the car and give it back to you. Gets the car back. A few weeks later, the issue comes up again. Contacts the dealer principal. Says to the dealer principal, this is issue number 5 now. Over 4 years. Same issue, unresolved. Says to the dealer principal, I'm escalating the issue. So you know the dealer principal thinks, escalate to who? So what does he do? Fairly clever. He told me something on the plane that I thought was fascinating, by the way. He said for every person that works in corporate, there's 5 different iterations of an email address. I'll explain that in a minute. He went online and he looked up who is the head of Mercedes-Benz South Africa. Got their name. And who is the head of customer service in South Africa? Went on LinkedIn, got the name. Then he wrote the name down and he worked out the email address. See, my email address at my growth fund is either going to be Vusi at my growth fund, Vusi.THEMBEKWAYO at my growth fund, VThembekwayo at my growth fund, Vusi T at my growth fund. But there is a finite number of options of what the email address can be. So what did he do? He emailed both of those people using all of the options. 8 came back, 2 went through. Believe me when I tell you, the dealer principal phoned him. Said, we have a problem. See, before he escalated the issue, he had a problem. Now that he's escalated the issue, we have a problem. Do you understand? The world that you and I are in today is so different. You're in this room today. I'm almost certain before the day is out, you will be giving me a rating of this performance. When I started in this business, I could say all sorts of things and not be held accountable. Today, before I even sleep, I will have a sense of your feedback. So just to be clear, hear me now. Hierarchies, reporting lines, command structures, and job titles only exist in the four walls of your company. They don't exist in the real world. I know your CEO is the big boss. He's the chairman. And I know you set up an appointment 3 weeks before you meet with him, and you wear your best attire, and you wash 3 times the night before. But for the rest of us mere mortals, your CEO is just a guy. We will find him, we will reach him, and we will make him aware of you and your performance. So this era where there was degrees of separation between customer, product, company, and department is gone. They all now exist literally in the palm of your hands on that device that some of you here are using.